Hello everyone, welcome to another live match with the Average Angler. We're on the third round of the short pole series that I'm fishing at Shiplate. So far you've seen me on the main lake catching some big fish. I think I had 7 fish or 6 fish for £72. And also what you haven't seen is I didn't do so well on West Pool because of the weather and the poor fishing combined to me not really having a video for you guys. But we're out on the third round and I'm on Hawthorn Lake. And after the first 2 rounds, I am in a position where I feel like I need to focus on carp because I've got more chance of framing in the carp league than I have in the silvers league. I've drawn peg 13, which is good because it's good for both silvers and carp, and it's a good area. So, but today we are definitely going to be focusing, or I'm going to try to be focusing on catching carp. Let's see how we get on. Right, we're straight into a carp. 20 minutes in, and we've got our first fish on. What I've done is I've gone to the maximum length that I'm allowed to fish today, which is a top kit and 3 sections. And at 11 o'clock, I've put in some maggots for a pot, and then at 1 o'clock, I've put in a little nugget of ground bait, some pellets, and a couple of maggots. And I've gone straight over to the left where the maggots have gone in, and I've just fished on top of that. And I've just kept topping it up with a little kinder pot, putting like 5 or 6 maggots in every few minutes just to see if I can catch anything. And after 20 minutes, I've not had anything. So I've quickly, still with the maggots on, just moved over to the 1 o'clock line on my right. And sure enough, the float's pretty quickly gone under, and I've got this fish on. So I'm already starting to think about what bait's right for the day. Obviously, where I've put the maggots in only, I haven't had a bite yet. But where the ground bait's gone in, I have had a bite. This is a good start for me because, like we said earlier, I'm trying to focus on catching carp. And so if I've found a way to catch carp, that's good. I'll beef my gear up today, so I'm fishing with like 0.13 up lengths instead of my usual sort of 0.10 that I've been fishing the last few matches. I've got Kaizen hooks on rather than silverfish. Been fishing with the Drennan silverfish hooks, but I've got Kaizen hooks on. And I've got 11 elastic in instead of a lot of the 5s that I've been using. So I've kind of got it in my mind that I've got to focus on catching a better stamp of fish if I want to compete now. Because I'm kind of out of it for the silvers. Or at least I feel like I am. So 1 hour update here. I haven't had any more carp. I'm just sticking with the 2 lines, just alternating between them. And just trying to work out what the fish want on the day. So far I've not had any fish on an expander. I can't get a bot on an expander. I have had a few silvers on the maggot, and I'm catching sort of odd skimmer every now and again. I've had some roach and some rudd and fish like that. I'm not really catching the carp that I'm trying to get, and I'm still, no one else is catching them either, so I'm just still trying to suss it out. You can see me keep lifting it and getting a lot of indications. I think that's roach and bits and bobs that are in the swim. And I keep laying the rig in because I've got this slow falling rig on that I like to start on, and I'm just trying to catch whatever I can. A little tiny wren on my side tray, hopefully the camera will pick him up. Obviously come to try and get me maggots, a little cheeky little git, but fair play to him. This was like a really slow period in the match. Obviously I had that nice start with the carp and I started to feel like things were going to happen, then suddenly reality strikes and it's really hard. But in these scenarios you've got to remember to look around and see what else is happening. And I'd seen a couple of fish come out, but nobody's bagging, and the chat on the bank was that our end of the lake was fishing better than the other end of the lake. So I just had to sit tight and not do anything too rash at this point, and just try and work out what's going on and see what's working best, and see if I can, winkle out a few fish or set the swims up for later on. So I've got about £11 in the bag. I've had another carp while the cameras have been off, and then just to turn the cameras on, I've upped another one. What I'm catching on mostly is on that left-hand line where I've had the maggot. But what I've done is I've put a little bit of ground bait in. Because ground bait had worked on that right-hand line, but I weren't really catching on the pellet, I'd assumed that the maggot was right and the ground bait was right, and it had actually resulted in a nice little run of some silvers as well, and this carp, and I had another carp, so that's 2 carp now. And so on the right-hand line that I'd had the pellets put in on it, I kind of decided to use that as a bit of a test line and a bit of a throwaway line. I couldn't really get bites over it. There's a lot of carp swimming around shallow. It's been very, very cold. But this is like a mild day and the sun's out. And the carp are obviously basking in that sunshine. And I've tried to mug a couple in it. I haven't had much success, but I thought I'm going to try and ping some maggots and over that right hand line where I haven't put any maggots in really, or haven't had much success on the bottom, and just to see what happens. So when I've landed this fish in a minute, you'll see me pinging over to the right, and just started trying to build that. I didn't want to go on it too early. If you do, if there are any fish there, but I'm catching on this left hand line, so I just keep topping that up and having odd fish over it whilst I try to build that right hand line up with a bit of pinging and see whether I can see some of those better fish that are mooching about, moving into that fed area, because if I can catch feeding, that would be great. There he's hooked. Oh, he's not very happy. He's got a bit of a growth in his mouth. He's hooked in that. So he's the smallest one we've had today, but he's a fish. So after a bit of feeding and what looked like odd signs of fish in the area, I sort of, as you can see, I grabbed for another rig. I had a rig that was set to fish half depth, because occasionally I've been told here that sometimes you can catch over your feed half depth. And I'm just moving it all around to fish even shallower. It is quite positive with a reasonable size hook on, but I'm hoping that won't upset these carp too much. I'm just going to try with a single maggot, because I always think shallow, a single maggot looks more believable for the carp. And I just thought I'd give it 5 minutes, see whether or not anything is. I can see fish in the area, but there's fish all around, so it might just be coincidence. And they might not be feeding on these maggots that I'm pinging in. But I just thought I'd flick the rig out, and I've built the area up. I've sort of given it 10 or 15 minutes of feeding. The other line I'd topped up and I weren't getting any bites, because quite often I found you didn't get a bite until sort of 10 minutes after you topped up. So I thought I'll just give this a quick look, see what happens. And as you're about to see, it actually works quite quickly. And I was surprised. And that actually had that maggot almost suspended, because I hadn't lifted the rig out. No, I was only fishing like a foot or so deep. So at this point now, my mind is racing, thinking, right, if I can have a run of these now doing this, I'm going to be in a real good position, because I doubt anybody else is, trying to catch shallow this time of year. Because obviously, it's quite a positive approach for this time of year. Sadly, this proved to be the only one that I had doing this. I did stick at it for quite some time, but it's odd. This fish just spooked the rest off, or whether I just got lucky with him, or probably a combination of that, plus the fact that my rig probably weren't quite right for it. So I wasn't really expecting to catch like this, and I could have got off my box, or perhaps I should have got off my box and tried a better rig that was more, delicate and precise, but I didn't. And I had to come off it in the end. But I thought I'd show you this little bit, because it was interesting to catch that shallow when it's been so cold. Beautiful. 1.6. So you join me now when we're 4.25 hours into this 6-hour match, and I've got about 29 pound of carp clicked. So I've had a few more carp, but I've caught them mostly, again, over that ground bait and maggot line on the left. Now, because I've been pinging and aggressively trying to get those carp up in the water, I couldn't get a bite on the bottom on that line, and I felt like I'd wrecked that line with trying to catch shallow. So what I did was I swung around a bit further to my right, towards that tree on my right there, took a section off, plumbed up, and it just happened to be the same depth there as it is where I'm fishing now, so I could use the same rig. And I thought, well, I might as well feed it the same now. We've got to try and start catch as much as we can now, because we're getting towards the end of the match, and I've kind of worked out they want ground bait and maggots. Well, that's at least what I think. So I've put some ground bait and maggots down onto that peg on the right there and carried on fishing this swim that I'm on now. Just before I put the cameras on, I did manage to hook a carp down on that line to the right straight pretty early on, and I've had some skimmers off it as well. And I've only just before I put the cameras on, I've also had a skimmer straight out in front of me where I'm fishing now. Now currently I feel like I'm doing a lot better today in the silvers wise than I am carp. Yes, I've got, you know, £23, £29 of carp, and I've said that my end of the lake's fishing better than the other end of the lake. But I know for a fact the guy to my left's beating me. He reckons the guy to his left's beating him. And the guy to my right, who I can't see, I've heard a lot of splashing, so I know his carp weight's going to be similar to mine. Whereas I haven't heard about anybody else catching silvers, and I feel like I've got at least £10 at this point, which is really not what I wanted, and it's really quite, you know, ironic that I'm sitting here being positive, fishing positive rigs with bigger hooks and bigger lines, in order to try and catch carp, and I'm ending up catching more silvers. There's a lot of liners out on this swim. Quite right yet, so what I do is I just top one up and then I just alternate back and forward between the two, and I'm just trying to see what's responding best. So I'll just keep plugging around the swims, moving around. Now I've got these two lines, one in front of me and one to my right. I've also got a line to my left, almost touching probably a foot or so off the bank, and about 1.5 sections out. Again, it's the same depth as it is everywhere else, and I've been pinging maggots down there and throwing maggots down there because I can throw out my hand, and I've just tapped a little bit of ground bait in there as well because I haven't had a bite over it yet. I just want to see if I can actually sneak a few fish from down there as well. So I've got kind of 3 lines on the go, and I'll just keep alternating the rig around the 3 lines in the hope that there's a fish on one, and then if I haven't had a fish off one for a while, I'll just top it with a little nugget of ground bait and some maggots, and just keep alternating around. It seems to be working for me. Another little skimmer there from down on that right hand line. In fact, that shorter line, which was kind of at the bottom of the near slope, actually produced some of the better standard of skimmers out of all the lines, which, well, I'm going to say is surprising, but it isn't to me, because the amount of times I've caught a good skimmer short now, everybody knows that's a good area to target for quality skimmers. I'm really not targeting silvers because I don't feel like it's my best chance, but you know, I'm catching silvers, so I've just got to keep with it, haven't I? I'm just got to keep going, catch what I can catch. So moving into the last 30 minutes. I've been prepping that line down to my left. I've had one carp off it when I've been on it. So, but then when I went in there, I was thinking, oh, this is going to happen now. I'm going to start bagging. And I was getting indications, but I just couldn't turn them into fish. So I topped it up. And I'm gone back out now, rotating around my other lines. But all my lines are kind of slowly fading apart. The one down the left is showing signs of fish, but I can't catch them. And normally the lines are kind of fading. I had a skimmer just before the cameras came on the original Make It line straight in front of me that I'm fishing on now. But I'm struggling now, and really this is the time when I'm hoping to sort of kick on. I feel like carp wise I'm a couple of carp behind where I need to be to get really good, like sort of top 2, top 3 section points that I want. And I was feeling like, you know, if I build up these swims, I might have a good finish. And throughout the day, I've tried different bits and bobs, but I've only really caught a maggot. I have bought some expanders with me, and I've fed expanders and over the ground bait, some of the ground baited areas, and I just haven't had a bite on an expander from anything. I thought at least I'd get something from the skimmers, but nothing. Just looking to nick a carp or two. Feel like, don't know, I feel like it's been a lowish carp weight day, but I don't know. If I'm in the top 2 or 3, I'll be happy with the carp weight, I think, because I just feel like I can't do much else. The baits that I've bought with me today, maggots and ground bait. So there we are. I do eventually hook another carp from down on this left hand edge, and I had loads of indications down there. There were definitely fish coming in, and I think, having spoken to people after the match, that perhaps they were coming in shallow, because the guy to my left who's come second and has only really missed out by half a fish. The difference between the two, first and second, was, you know, a small amount. He's caught down his edge, but he's actually pulled his rig up into the sort of the messy shallow water. So the edges on this lake are really, really tricky, and they're like sort of full depth, and then they come up really quickly, and they're not very, they're impossible, they plumb up sort of impossible, and what he was doing was sort of, he's found a depth that he was happy with, and then he was just dragging his maggot right into the edge so that his maggot would just lie there, just sort of up against the edge, and he was catching fish doing that, which was a surprise to me and something that I need to add to my armoury for this venue and sort of have a play around with, because we're definitely fishing my swim, and for whatever reason, I had quite a few liners, I missed quite a few bites down there, never foul hooked anything, but I got the impression that I was missing too many bites for them to be proper bites. I was thinking these are liners, that these are weird indications. But anyway, that was the last fish that I had of the match. I did go back in there hoping to get another one, and I sat there thinking, one more decent fish might be good, and in the end, one more decent fish would have made quite a bit of a difference to my to where I finished and where I ended up in the league. So let's have a quick look at the section today. This is the section that I was in. Everybody on this sheet is my section. It's quite a big section, and that's me on peg 13, John M, £37.12 in the carp. Now, I said one more fish would have made a big difference. I'm there on 5th, whereas one more fish would have put me 3rd. I was never going to catch peg 9-11. Got my tactics wrong for that. But one more fish would have put me would have got me 2 more points, or 2 less points, whichever way around you want to look at it. On the silvers, as it turns out, I won the silvers, so I've got minimum points or best points that you can possibly get on the silvers. Comfortably won the silvers with only really Tom getting close to me on nearly £12. So let's have a look at how that translates into the league and where we stand. So this shows the standings after this match now. So this is how we stand now going into the final round, which is next week. Look on the left hand column, the carp there. That's me 7th, John Mills. I've got 13 points. Now I said one carp puts me 2 places up, and I'm on 11, the same as Tom. And being 11 is a lot nicer looking there with, sort of 9, 10, 11. They're all framing places. So 10 points is a framing place. So at the moment, I've got my work cut out now. So I've got to try and make up 3 points on the people in the framing place. It's not likely to happen. And when we go over to the silvers, even though I've won the silvers there, look, I'm actually 8th on the silvers. And I've actually got to make up 4 points to get into the frame. So even though I've just won the silvers there, I'm still in a better place to win the carp. And as you can see, what I was saying about at the start of this match, I was really trying to focus on carp, because if I could have gotten the top 2 or 3, I really would be in a good position. But now I need a really, really, really good result and some things to go my way. That's match fishing. Now let's see how we get on, and tune in for the next instalment.